Welcome to Rambles N Records, the show where we talk about records and discuss music, the music industry, what's going on in the world of music at this time. But not only this time, not just the present, we talk about the past as well, and maybe the future. Today, we're going to be talking about the new release upcoming from Tyler, the Creator, Chromokopia. We're going to be discussing the current state of affairs in the world of live music. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
Rambles N Records.
Billy!
Yeah,
What's going on, man?
Yeah.
This and that. Have you seen the hype behind Tyler, the Creator album?
I have, yeah.
It's clearly making quite a statement. It's clearly sending quite a message. They're always different.
Absolutely.
They always portray this sort of character, so he hasn't really teased much. But what I love about him as well is just the way it's come out of nowhere and it's coming out really soon.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
That's what I really appreciate about it.
And do you know what? Prior to announcing it, he'd been like making statements on social media that suggested he wasn't going to release anything anytime soon. And I think he's like, there was some pattern that some fans have noticed, like he tends to release something every other year or something.
Yeah, so it should have been 2023, shouldn't it? Because it went in sort of series of 2-year releases.
Right, okay.
So it was Bastard 2009, Goblin was 2011, Wolf was 2013, Cherry Bomb was 2015, Flower Boy was 2017, Igor was 2019, and then Call Me If You Get Lost was 2021. Needed an extra year for this one, but
like you say, there's that brand new character, that first track as well. It's very, very different as well. And I've got a feeling it's going to be another standout record for him. Well, I guess, yeah, Igor was, the album before was heavily conceptual and, you know, the production of it was, I would say it wasn't like a heavily hip-hop record. It was probably more R&B or...
Yeah. They've all been different on purpose. He went ahead and created the next album out of spite in response to any negative critics that were leaving reviews saying, oh, he's playing it safe. Oh, am I playing it safe? I'll go ahead and make like Igor. Oh, he's being too abstract. And then he ended up making Flower Boy, which was to try and hit the pop sort of market a little bit more, he said. And it seems as if he cares what the people have to say, but at the same time, he doesn't give a fuck.
I guess he's
that's
always
the impression I get.
not been afraid to kind of try and instigate a reaction or to be outspoken. So, yeah, it makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. So, Chromokopia, it's going to be released on the 28th of October, not far at all. We don't know much about it, but he first initially released and teased that video for Saint Chroma, which, as far as the music goes, there's not much going on. It's kind of like he's like whispering, there's some vocals in the background. He's leading a bunch of people into a shipping container, and then, I don't want to spoil it, but I mean, I imagine most people have seen it now. The shipping container just blows up at the end. And you know what I've noticed as well? Because after then, he releases a track, which we'll brush over, but he also released that other one. You know that one that I sent you, like the vinyl one? It's like black and white, but then it changes to colour. That's what I'm noticing with this cinematography that he's using. Like, he's going from black and white, and then all of a sudden the music will change and the colour will come in. So when he exploded the shipping container, it just sort of exploded with colour at the same time almost. And it was the same, like I think a picture fell off the wall while he's dancing to the vinyl, and then it changed to colour again. And it's interesting because chroma means like intensity of colour, and there's a few theories I've spotted online in terms of what chromokopia is. That's its own word, it doesn't necessarily, it's not a word in itself, but chroma's like intensity or purity of color, and kopia is a Polish or a Swedish word for a copy, imitation, or reproduction of something, particularly a piece of art. But there's also other theories that it might be a mixture between copio and utopia. Copio meaning toil or work, and utopia is like an imagined place that's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my instinct when I saw it, obviously, did make the association with chroma being related to color, and
Yeah.
probably the Pia at the end, I would have just assumed was to do with Utopia. But it'd be
Mm,
interesting if it is related to copy, because on the, I don't know if I'm skipping ahead if you were about to talk about Noid, but I was just gonna say, obviously, that heavily samples a song from the 70s.
yeah.
So I don't know. Do
Yeah,
you think
it's
it's going to be a lot of samples and copying stuff? Maybe, I don't know.
nice. I didn't think of that, but that's a good shout.
I mean,
That's a good shout because it is
this is not
heavily
based on
sampled.
anything, but
No, that's a good because at this stage, look, we don't know the facts.
know anything. I've
We
just had
don't know
one
anything.
song.
We rarely know the facts on this podcast, but we definitely don't in this case because the album isn't even out yet. So this is the fun part. You know, we can kind of have a guess as what it's going to be. We're all anticipating what it's going to be, and I'm sure everyone's got their own theories. But that's a really good one.
And do you know what's even more fun? By this time next
Well,
week, we will know, and we'll
we
be
will
able
know.
to say how stupid we sounded or how smart we sounded now.
We're kind
So yeah,
of cutting off our nose to spite our face a little bit by even
yeah,
talking
we're
about
just
this.
really putting ourselves out there to live.
Yeah. But oh well, we might
Oh
be
yeah,
right. Yeah. But Noid, like you say, yeah, it is heavily sampled by a Zambian rock group
yeah.
called Ngozi Family. And
hmm
the song Niza Kupanga Ngozi
I'm glad
is
you said it this time, not me.
I think that's right. It was from their album 45,000 Volts released in 1977 and I listened to that album entirely, and I've got to say, I'm into it. It's like
Yeah.
African psych.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I listened to that track. I didn't listen to the whole album, but it just sounded great. Yeah.
no, it's cool, man. Like it was part. They were like probably. It seems like one of the most prolific bands from the scene of what's called Zamrock, which
Hmm.
was aptly kind of the rock scene in Zambia, basically. But I think with Noid, it was releasing on the 21st, so literally the other day. It's very heavily sampled, is the point I was going to make. So the point you're making about it being maybe this Polish Swedish word for copy, and maybe he's paying homage, but also being kind of tongue in cheek about just saying, look, I'm basically like copying this shit. I don't know, like sampling heavy on purpose is a cool sort of
You
thing
also
to
get
put out
like,
there.
it's also a musical term, isn't it? Like you get the chromatic scale and stuff.
True.
So I don't know if that's a thing as well.
Because the colour is green as well. I don't know if that's got any relevance.
There's a lot of
Um,
green in the running through the campaign, isn't there?
yeah, a lot of green, all black and white. But if
hmm
it is chroma, that should, in theory, kind of be exploring more colours than that. But I think it's the idea of, I think there's something in there with what I mentioned before about turning black and white to colour and that switch,
Yeah,
that change, that transition.
but I don't think it'd be the first time he'd had like double meanings in something. I
Yeah, no,
can't think of an
absolutely.
example off the top of my head, but like,
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
mean,
yeah.
yeah, it wouldn't be beyond him to have both.
And with this, I mean, to be honest, in terms of Noid, I don't know if it's going to have a continuous pattern in terms of the message of that song, but obviously it's a abbreviation for paranoid, and the
Yeah.
video.
Do you think is a any coincidence that like the riff of the song that it sampled is Sabbath-esque at all? And it's
Paranoid, yeah, it is a bit Sabbath. It's a bit War Pigs in it, but I also found it sounded like the Jimi Hendrix song "If Six Was Nine."
okay.
I don't know if you've heard it, but it's like this. It's very spaced out, down, and it's very like very similar to that, and that's what it reminded me of. But yeah, Sabbath, Paranoid, Noid, possibly. I love this. I
I
love
mean,
just
it's
like
kind of like just such speculation and clutching at straws at
this
some extent.
is
But
like the
like,
most fun I have when we're doing this sort of stuff. It's this is all an opinion and it doesn't really matter about the facts. Well, it does.
yeah,
We should be
like when
factual, but yeah.
I mean, when I made the association between like it sounding Sabbath-esque and the the song being called Noid. I wasn't trying to like come up with any theories or anything. It was just like, oh, been a
Ozzy
sad.
Osbourne is going to be heavily featured on the album. I
I
think
mean,
Tony Iommi was playing guitar on the song.
yeah, I mean, Tony Iommi has been collaborating with Tyler for ages, hasn't he? He was on
Yeah,
like the last 3 albums, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, I think he was. I think he was. He wasn't actually, was he?
No,
No, okay, cool.
it's not
You
that I'm
can't do
aware
that to
of.
me because I'm very gullible. Shit. Yeah, no, bringing it all out the blue. I love that. There's no teaser. There's no big campaign for him to earn loads of money off it. There's no this and that. But have you seen what's recently been brought out? Like literally today.
No, I missed what happened
World
today.
tour. So the Chromokopia World Tour. He's coming to Birmingham.
Yeah, is he coming to Malta?
Let's have a look. Let's have a look, mate. Don't think so.
Well, we get touring bands, you know. Do you know what I found out today? That Feeder played in Malta 12 days ago. And I only found out today.
Vida. Du, 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 du.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Du, 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 du. Thank you, Malta.
I literally only found out today that they played 2 weeks ago.
No way.
Like 10
I bet
minutes
you
from my
gutted.
house.
Could you
Like,
hear him from your house?
no. If I'd known... No, wait. Yeah, if I'd known they were playing, I would have been interested to go. But it's interesting because if I was in Birmingham and I saw that they were playing, I probably wouldn't have even noticed or batted an eyelid at it.
Yeah,
It's only because it's in
Feeder.
Malta.
Yeah. No, it's like, oh,
It's like
Feeder.
a band that I
I could
recognise.
go see Feeder. So there's a lot of dates in America. Then he's over to Antwerp, Paris,
Mm-hmm.
Milan, Zurich, Frankfurt, Cologne, Oslo, Copenhagen, Prague, Krakow, Berlin, Amsterdam, Birmingham, London, Dublin, Manchester, Glasgow, then back to America. Oh, and then Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and that's it.
So he's not even going to Sicily or Naples.
Nah, he's missed the boat there. He's going to Milan. How far's Milan?
He can do Milan.
Do Milan. Be into that. Anyway, so yeah, World Tour announced today on the 23rd of October. So that's pretty cool. He's a busy bee. It's going to be starting in February and ending in September. Going back to Tyler, the Creator, I mean, he started around 2009, and even when he was in Odd Future, just kind of culturally, the impact he made. He was so memorable in my eyes in terms of, because that was when I was sort of growing up and kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
was into a lot of punk rock, but also like that, because it was very synonymous. It was very the same, really. It was kind of their attitude towards that DIY ethos of
Because he was even like a
fashion,
skater and everything as
skating.
well, wasn't he? Yeah.
You know, they were just like everyone just kind of wanted to be him at that age.
I remember when I first saw when the Yonkers video came out, and
Yeah.
just remembering like, even though it's just like the video is just him in front of like a white screen and it's all black and
Mm.
white. There's like so much happening at the same time as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember like it just seeming like it just standing out at the time.
Yeah. Everybody around our age at the time looks at that and goes, fuck yeah. Like, the song was good. And then just how raw it was and how it really pushed the boundaries. Like, it literally had him, like, it showed themes of suicide, him hanging himself, swallow a cockroach, like all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but it's that classic thing of like, I bet pretty much 90% of like our parents or grandparents' generation looked at that and was just like, what the fuck? To the point where he was banned in the UK. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
He was banned from like performing, visiting, I think even.
Yeah. Well, I remember when the ban was lifted, and
Yeah.
I just remember on his Instagram, it was him like shadowboxing outside Buckingham Palace as his way to announce that he announced a secret show. I think like that day
Sick.
or that week,
Yeah,
and then the
yeah,
police
yeah.
had to shut down the gig because it was too busy.
Yeah, man. I think it's like, it was off Bastard, their first release. I think it was just kind of like there was a song, Kill People, Burn Shit, Fuck School.
Mm-hmm.
And British people can't be dealing with that, you know. But I think it was to do also with some live performances. But then, yeah, Goblin came out. That was much, again, the same. I kind of had this kind of schizophrenic, cynical, aggressive, dark themes to it.
Yeah,
I always
but
remember,
so I
like, the intensity of it all.
Goblin is an album I was familiar with, but I was checking out some of the themes of it the other day, and it is a very dark album.
Yeah, it's quite intense, isn't it? You can tell it was done in a way. It's like, what's the worst thing what's the worst thing I can say? I'll say that instead of like, I want to do this shit. You could tell like he was saying it to piss people off, and I
Yeah, yeah,
think
yeah.
that's what drew the world into like kind of be so interested in it.
So like the concept of like shock music or whatever isn't new. Obviously, you had Marilyn Manson before, or even before that, Alice Cooper or Black Sabbath or
Yeah,
any of these artists. They've all kind of had their own version of that to some extent. And actually, even Alice Cooper was banned from the UK in the 70s.
yeah,
Despite, like, Bastard obviously being heavy on the shock value, there is still, introspective themes in there, and the concept of that whole therapy session that goes through those first three records as well.
mm,
And the characters in it, which kind of portray different aspects of his personality and I guess his kind of growth as well is still reflected through that. So it's okay, yeah, it has all that shocking stuff in there, but there is still like something to contemplate in there as well. It's not
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
pure
It's about the pain
evil.
that goes with it. Why I'm doing this. Like, if it's all this hypothetical shit of all this crazy shit I'm doing, there's also this element of a therapist trying to break down the walls of why they're doing it. So
Hmm.
the concept's really cool. It's got things like abandonment, frustration in it, like rebellion and inner turmoil and all that shit. Like mental health is very much highlighted in it. So it's cool. It's not just um as I don't know. It's not just for the sake of it. It's uh, it's not just saying like really bold, crazy shit for the sake of it. Like there was a deeper hidden meaning. Um, but then after then, it just seemed like he matured with it. He got through, series of other releases. You got like Wolf, which vaguely remember wasn't really my favorite to be honest. Cherry Bomb was good. Um, and then Flower Boy, which was very much more like R&B pop, which again was pretty cool. And then Igor was probably the most memorable and probably his biggest record, I'd say. And in terms of characters, I think Chromokopia and Igor are quite similar in the sense that there are these really distinctive characters
Mm.
between the two. I think I'd argue to say like probably each one of his albums has these sort of character elements. I mean, I think with Wolf, like he was wearing like masks or prosthetics on his face in some of the
Yeah.
videos. So I think it's always apparent. Cherry Bomb, he's wearing like this pink mask. Uh, Flower Boy again. There's like a flower in front of his face, so it's always like taking away his face from the art in a way. Um,
So like Bastard, Goblin, and Wolf are like a trilogy,
mm,
all kind of connected, and the characters are just different aspects of him. And yeah, like there just seems to be so much to delve into there. Coming
yeah,
off the back of what we were talking about last week, it was kind of just very interesting to see how much there is to delve into here as well. Just as well on the pure like quantity of it that's there as well. So like all of the narratives that are running through all these threads and the
hmm
way he kind of tells it through these different characters. It's really intriguing.
yeah, absolutely. And it's all up for debate. That's what I love about it as well. It allows us to just have conversations like this now and not really know the true facts, but there's a lot to sort of dissect and go through and kind of make our own minds up with. I'm sure Chromokopia is going to be much the same. I am really looking forward to it. I like that he's pushing vinyl as well with that little vinyl teaser video. No doubt it'll be
Yeah.
released on vinyl and yeah, released 28th of October. Check it out.
Rambles N Records.
That world tour seems cool as well because his kind of live performances are always quite, well thought out. It's not just him jumping on stage. There's always like a lot of production put into it, and I do think this will be much the same. And his influences in terms of the style of music that he's bringing out is kind of, it's like genre bending, isn't it? Like you can't even call it
Mm,
hip hop really. It is.
exactly. And it doesn't seem to like exist in that same world,
No.
even though he's like from the same country and like does exist
Yeah.
in a similar space. It just doesn't seem to like fit in that canon.
Yeah. Like kind of what we said with Kendrick and Drake, and like how critically it's in a different world because of how creative it is. And with his characters and stuff as well, like I almost feel like there's kind of comparisons to like Bowie in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like these alter egos that transform his identity each time, and each album having a certain identity or persona that's attached to the music,
Hmm.
which I think is really cool. And I think I like anyone that pushes against the um conventional boundaries of like hip hop. So like he's really done that to the point where it is in a sense its own sort of genre. But it
Absolutely.
reminds me of kind of like Tribe Called Quest, where it was a lot of, at the time, just your standard hip hop. But then they came along and just kind of changed it with a lot more creativity in terms of the
Mm.
fashion, the subject matter of the lyrics, the element of sampling, and
They also kind of
individuality.
struggled to fit in as well, didn't they? Like they were
Yeah,
kind of rejected a bit by the industry, the hip hop
yeah,
scene at the
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. And now, I mean, they were recently inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this week, I think.
Mm.
Um,
Ah, so was Ozzy Osbourne.
oh yeah, I've seen that. It's been a good week. Fucking hell.
Yeah,
It's
and
criminal that Ozzy
Cher.
weren't in there. But yeah, Tribe Called Quest, them going in there just makes sense as well because, like you say, they weren't they weren't given the credit they deserved at the time because they were so eccentric.
Mm.
Um, but that was needed so that people like Tyler the Creator can come along and do what he's doing now. Um, it was really like a lot of fusion of different genres and like just pushing the boundaries. I think there's a lot of similarities there
I
in
guess
terms
another
of
artist that comes to mind that maybe falls into that category a bit would be Outkast.
Outcast. Yeah, that's another good shout. Absolutely. Um, and Pharrell, I would say.
Mm. I feel like Pharrell's like a completely another level of beast now, though, because he's
Yeah,
just like an insane level producer. He's just like on everything that's like
everything
decent.
he
It
touches,
seems, yeah.
it's like he doesn't even need to say anything. If he's in the room, it's a piece of art, you know.
Mm.
Um, almost like Rick Rubin. Like, what does Rick Rubin
Yeah,
actually do? He
exactly.
just sort of shows up and then it
Yeah,
just
he's like, oh,
turns
whoa.
into a great piece of music. It seems like he
I
openly
feel
even
like
says, like, I don't even do anything. I just do what I
he
feel
just
is
sits
right in the
there
moment.
in
Like
his like white clothes and his bare feet, sipping
barefoot,
his.
cross-legged, like just
He's always drinking
meditating.
like tea or something. He's always got
Yeah,
this, or I don't know, lemon water or whatever it is,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
stroking
Just
his
chilled.
beard.
God. But yeah, Pharrell's much the same. I think. Well, no, actually, I think Pharrell, he is a mentor. I think he has listened to the ones above him. I think he's tried out loads of different things. Whether again, it's like he was a big fan of skate culture, rock,
Hmm.
fashion, art. And I think when you take note to loads of different styles of different walks of life in terms of art, I think you end up like creating amazing things like he's done. But
Absolutely.
yeah, and I think Tyler's much the same. And I think Tyler and Pharrell are very close as well, so you can see that sort of connection, I guess, between the
Yeah.
two of them. In terms of the fashion, stuff like that. I think Tyler fits into that realm. And going back to like live music, I think his shows are and will continue to be like really entertaining and another layer of who he is as an artist. When you go and see him live, you're not going just for the music, you're going for the experience. And this is where
Sorry.
I'm going to hit you with a question. Do you think smartphones should be banned from live performances?
Nah, I don't get why some artists get so worked up about it. Like, I personally wouldn't want to watch a gig through a phone, but I mean, it's up to you in the audience how you want to spend the show.
Yeah. To me, because I've seen a lot of stuff lately where artists are getting pissed off. Artists are kind of, it depends on the delivery. I seen Nick Cave do it the other day, and to be fair, he did it in quite a cool way. There's this video, I put it on our socials. It was like him just kind of saying, like picking someone out the crowd, like a bit of crowd work, and going, "Oh, you're having a bit of a film there, yeah, okay, cool. Are you going to be doing that all night, or?" And it's a bit like a bit of a joke with it. And then it was like, I tell you what, why don't everybody get their phone out now and film me for 30 seconds? We'll do it. And then why don't we all put our fucking phones away and just enjoy the gig? And the way he delivered that was perfect, I think, because you can't stop people from, they've spent their money to watch the gig, and it's their personal choice at the end of the day. If they want to watch it through the eyes of their, like the lens of their phone camera, instead of watching it in real life, like that's their personal choice, you
I
know?
do get it, because I mean, when you're in a room with someone and you're having a conversation and they're
Mm.
just looking at their phone.
Mm.
Imagine if they just started filming you when you were talking at them. Like, it's
Imagine,
not gonna.
yeah.
It's
Or
a
not only
complete
that, but
disconnect.
like performing, like bearing your heart and soul into a live performance, and someone's just there, like,
I was about to say,
keep it going.
though, that because they're performing, it makes sense that you would film it. So, like, I get that, like, when you're
Mm.
having a one-on-one conversation with someone, the phone being there is a horrible experience. But
Mm.
yeah, so I can see it being frustrating if you're playing night after night and you're just seeing people just looking for their phones, and maybe they're not fully they're not present in the moment, and they're not enjoying it as much as maybe they could. But then again, when I'm at a show, I will watch it mostly, but I might get a quick snap or a quick 10-second clip
Yeah,
just to
that's
like
absolutely fine, man.
remember it
I'm
by
talking about
later.
people that I think, like, I'm a bit on the fence, and I'm probably more on the for side. Not banned, not oh my god, don't fucking, not they should arrest people, like, or just like confiscate their phones or whatever. But I'm on the side of maybe implementing some form of technology that kind of limits them to a like 1 30-second video and a few pictures.
The thing is, I feel like once you get into that level, it's just like dictatorial, isn't it? Like,
It is.
it's like Big Brother, like, no, you can't do that. Put your phone
I
away.
know, I
Watch
know.
me. Watch me. Like, just fucking enjoy it. However you
But
want.
it is a shame. I think through the addiction of kind of trying to prove to the world that you're living a cool life, you're sacrificing the enjoyment of something to film something to show people that you've got a cool life instead of just having the cool life.
Yeah. No,
Do
I
you know
get
what I
that.
mean?
I think that's more
Um,
an
and that's
issue
a
with,
shame on the people, I think, more
yeah,
than anything,
but exactly,
not the artist.
that's a reflection on some of the issues we have in society that we need to try and address. But I don't think that music artists need to start a battle against people enjoying their shows.
I think they should. I think when, as soon as someone spots someone on their phone for too long, they're forced to get up on stage and perform the song whilst the artist sits on a chair in front of them and films them performing it.
That would be really entertaining for everybody in the room.
Including the fan, actually. That's a good, decent idea. Ticketmaster, hit us up. We got
Yeah.
ideas.
Dynamic pricing.
Dynamic pricing.
More time you
Overpricing.
spend on your phone, the more it costs you.
That's great. Like you clock it up like data, like you know when you overuse your data plan
Yeah.
and you're using
You're getting
like,
charged like
you're
10p
fuck, you
per
get charged
second.
like tenner a minute.
Yeah.
Oh shit, man! I filmed the whole gig. I owe him $1,000. Fuck.
Well, at least I can enjoy it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, but that's the other thing. I do think there's a thing where all these videos that people take, I think the actual percentage of people that actually look at them back is quite low. And in the moment, you feel like you need it, but you don't actually use it.
No,
You
it's
might
true.
post it.
It's not like you're just gonna sit there one day, like, you know,
Go,
in
I think
30
I wanna
years when you're talking to your kids, like, hey, kids, like,
Hey
this is
kids,
the
come on.
time I saw
I
Tyler the
thought I'd
Creator.
put the
Like,
like a
you know,
small band as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this band was great in 2012.
Mm.
They released one single on their local radio station.
Family, let's gather round the wireless and rewatch it, shall we?
Now, obviously, that's like an extreme example that isn't going to be reflective of what people do, but I think it is nice. One thing that we have is to occasionally be able to just kind of flick through a period of our history, like now that our photos have been collecting for the past 10 years or whatever, and then to just kind of randomly drop into like a moment in 2012 and be like, oh yeah, that's when I had that haircut and when I was hanging out with those people, and oh shit, yeah, I was really into like that band then, and I went to see them and I went to this festival, and you can kind of really like jog your memory a little bit of like that window in time, and then you know that's 10 minutes and then you carry on with your day or whatever.
Oh
It's like
yeah,
from that
definitely,
perspective, it's
man.
not terrible.
Yeah, it's not, and I do think you do need something like that. The in the current state of the world we're in concert ticket prices, price of fucking merch nowadays, things like that, you need a memento. And
Exactly. It's
yeah,
a
if you do,
personalized free memento you can keep for life.
yeah, and in that case, yeah, you do need it. But do you need it for the whole gig? Definitely not. Do you need to kind of like experience it for real? Definitely. Because otherwise, when when you look back, if you filmed the whole gig and your memories come up on your phone in 5 years' time, I think what you've said is a really good point, and I think what it would do is, say if you took your phone out and filmed for a couple minutes, and you saw it again 5 years later, it would re-spark a bunch of other real memories you had of that
Yeah, exactly.
time.
That's it. It's just a
But
little spark.
yeah, you're like, oh yeah, I remember I had like, I met this dude and he was crazy and he like, I don't know, tripped over or something like that or whatever. And
It doesn't even need to be
you
a couple
know,
of minutes. I think 30 seconds is
30 seconds,
plenty.
exactly. But my point is, if you spend the whole gig filming it, which a lot of people are doing, and it's the kind of the reason for the point I'm making, that it's
Yeah.
becoming a bit excessive, your memory of the thing would be the thing you're watching.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah.
It's a
I
loop.
remember looking at the back of the bottom of my phone for half an hour.
Yeah, man. So that's why I think it's worth like going off the back of Tyler the Creator, how he puts clearly a lot of production value into the overall performance of seeing it and the explosions and the pyrotechnics and the craziness of it. Like that's good to see in person, and I think ultimately that it's gonna be overboard in terms of the amount that we're filming or the duration that we're filming.
No, of
Like
course. But
to
like I
me,
say,
it's like get the memento, put it back in your pocket, and then just enjoy the gig. And I know, like, I sound like I'm just ranting like a fucking like geriatric dude that wants things to be like before phones, and I'm not. I just think it is noticeably getting worse, and it feels like we touched on it in terms of the atmosphere of a gig and a festival is also being affected by this.
get what you're saying. But again, I think that is more a reflection of people's frustrations with the overuse of technology in every aspect of life, not just gigs.
Not just gigs, no,
Although,
you're right.
having said that, I did see Tyler the Creator live 2 years ago, and I don't remember the set very well. So if only I'd filmed it all,
If
then I
only
could
you'd
watch
filmed
it
the
back.
whole thing. Counter argument. Why didn't you film it?
I know I should have. Probably I was too busy enjoying myself with my mates.
And this
I
is
was
it.
just clapping the whole way. Woo!
Yeah, in response to what I said, it's like, why aren't people clapping more? It's like I clap so much that I could only see my hands and I couldn't even hear the fucking the gig. I just heard my own claps.
Now, I think the problem. Now, I do remember it vaguely, but the problem was I think the group I was with, we didn't go like very close, and I think the sound wasn't very good. It was at a festival,
Okay.
so I remember there being like a big green hill, and I do remember him dancing, but like I don't remember the set in much detail. I think it would have been a lot better if I felt like I wasn't really inside it. It was like it was a bit in the distance,
Fair
so I
enough.
didn't really get the chance to really enjoy the full experience. I think.
But yeah. Let's see what Chromokopia brings. It seems a little bit darker and a bit more. I don't know what the word would be.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because it's the first time I've noticed such kind of heavy distorted guitars on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's going to have a lot of that influence on the whole thing or if that's just one track or.
Well, we've already established that Black Sabbath are producing the album. We
Yeah.
unpack the cryptic hints and clues, such as the song Noid, which is clearly a reference to Paranoid, which is clearly a reference to a famous Black Sabbath song, which is clearly a reference to Ozzy performing with him on stage.
Solved. Mystery solved. Right.
Mystery solved.
Thanks, guys. That was been a
Thanks, guys.
been a
See you
great
next
episode.
week. But yeah, no, good little chat there. Should smartphones be banned? No, but why don't we try and use them a bit less? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. That's like a whole thing.
Why
Put
don't
it-
we go
put it in your
down to
pocket.
local record stores a bit more?
Yeah, go to the record store.
Go
Maybe
to your
use
local
a little
record store.
tool
Yeah.
if you
Pick
get
up a
stuck. But
record
that's it.
and go back and play it.
Yeah.
Haven't
No,
got a
absolutely.
record player? Find one. Steal one. Don't steal one. Buy
Or
one.
see if you can listen to the records at the record store. Or go to the record store and ask for recommendations, and then they might play them for you.
Or perform them.
And go to gigs.
Go to gigs, real gigs.
And don't film the whole thing. But
don't film the
feel
whole
free,
thing.
Feel free to take a clip.
Little
Or
clip?
two. Take a little
Two?
clip or two.
Not free.
Nah, not free. Don't need free.
Depends on the duration. Few pictures? Ooh, pictures. Ooh, managed to meet the artist backstage, did you? Fine. Picture.
Saw a kebab on the floor. Ooh,
Saw a kebab on the
picture.
floor, did you? Picture.
Absolutely.
Someone
That's it.
fell over.
No. That's it. Just kebab on the floor.
Kebab on the floor. Someone fell over in it.
No, then you should call the ambulance.
Nah, fuck 'em.
Rambles N Records.
Anyway, we're going off on a tangent, but yeah. What's next?
Well, talking about going to gigs, I went to a gig.
Woo! Did you film the whole thing?
I didn't know. I took.
Legend.
I'll tell you exactly what I got from it. Bear with me 1 second. Right, I took one picture of the headline band,
That looks cool.
one picture of the support act,
Cool. That's fine.
one picture of the trophy cabinet, and the
Yeah, I remember you showed
Prince
me
Philip
this.
plaque.
But, royal family, yeah? The venue seems a bit unique.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to get into. It was a very interesting gig. So I just kind of want to talk a little bit as well about Malta and the music scene and what it's like being on a small island.
Yeah, man.
And what it must be like to be an independent band here, or even just any band here. So, as you noticed, the venue looked a bit peculiar. It was at the British Legion, the Royal British Legion club or bar or whatever. So that's obviously the charity that does the poppies, and they like look after British veterans.
Have they got John Smith's on tap?
No, you can buy.
It's not a British Legion.
You don't get many beer taps in Malta. You don't even get beer
Do you
taps
not?
in Malta. No, everything
no
is
way.
canned or bottled.
Fair enough. I've gone off draft beer, to be fair.
To be fair, more modern bars do have taps now, but this wasn't a modern bar.
Good old fashioned pub. Good old fashioned geezer pub.
But yeah, so like I said, so it's the Royal British Legion. You go in, it is like an old school pub. They got the football on the TV. There's an little old woman behind the bar. Cash only. All
Fucking hell.
Revolut. And they have like a little venue room at the back. It's like a community centre basically. And as you go in, to be fair, it sounded great in there. The room sounded good. The sound engineer was good. The band was great. But you couldn't help but notice like you were surrounded by these like trophy cabinets and like pictures of old, I guess, veterans and politicians or yeah. But anyway, so interesting venue, and that's right in the capital in Valletta. Weird little bar, but it was cool. The band was really cool. So they were called Eyes to Argus.
Eyes to Argus.
Yeah, not Argus, the catalog store from the high street. I didn't ask what the name meant, to be honest. But yeah, so they're like a post rock kind of almost maybe indie band. Maybe like if like Slint or Swans met like Wild Beasts or everything else. Somewhere kind of in between there.
Okay.
Maybe not too dissimilar maybe to like Hoopla Blue that we had on before.
Yeah. Nice. That sounds interesting.
No, they're really cool.
Have they got any music that we could listen to?
Yeah. Do you want to listen to a track now?
Yeah, why not?
I sent you Spotify link. Oh wait. Oh yeah, that should be fine. What song has come up?
Bloodstream, Waterfall, Cannonball. I think you sent me this actually.
Yeah, I did. Did you get a chance to listen to it already?
Yeah, I did listen to, I think this one, Bloodstream, Waterfall, Cannonball. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think I need a bit of a refresh though. Yeah. Let's have a quick play. Yeah, okay. Cool, yeah. I can see how the vocals are similar to that Hoopla Blue that we've listened to before. So yeah, vocals are similar to Hoopla Blue. And then the guitar sounds kind of like everything. So I'm getting that reference as well. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. So seeing them in like an ex-serviceman's club that's made to look British, but actually it's in Malta, is an interesting gig. What were you drinking?
Chisk is a Maltese beer. It's a Maltese lager.
Cheers.
Yeah. That's the
I was
when you come over,
hesitant to
you'll
say
try
what's
the Chisk.
I'm sure we'll get a few chicks. I can't even say it. A few chicks.
We'll get a few chicks, a few
Yay!
chisks.
Malta are going to know what's in when we get the chisks in. Another round of chisks, please.
Yeah, we can go to the Servicemen's Club if you like.
Oh, mate. In me element. I'll get me Fred Perry polo ready. Buttoned up.
But to add to the interesting cocktail of multiculturalism, the record was released on Post Recordings, which are based in Indianapolis in the US. And so the show was actually the release party for this album. But they just come back, I think, from what I heard, from a few dates in the US to support the album.
Okay.
So, which is really interesting considering that, the size of Malta and its kind of geographic location doesn't necessarily lend itself to giving you the best global opportunities. So the fact that they are really on an American label and just coming back from the US is quite impressive. I think
quite an achievement. Yeah, quite respectable.
And the way I came about finding out about this gig was because I was actually at a bar on Friday night. I was catching up with an old friend who I knew here a long time ago, who now actually lives in Tamworth. But he was back visiting Malta. I'd gone out to meet him, and then chatting to this guy at the bar. We were talking about technology, because we both work in the tech industry. Then I found out just as I was leaving, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm playing a show tomorrow." So he was actually the drummer from this band.
Oh, cool.
I was like, "Oh, sick! Yeah, I'll go to that then." And then I also found that so again, given the size of Malta, a lot of musicians playing a lot of different bands. So I found that this guy also
Yeah.
plays in a band called Brodu, which is another local Maltese band. They come up quite often when I ask people like, who are your favorite Maltese band?
Mm.
So I guess, yeah, like these are some of the most popular independent bands within Malta. So yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is like, it's interesting how you can just randomly be sat in an unassuming bar, meet the guy from half of these bands, go to his gig in a random British Legion club,
Hmm.
and then probably see like the whole, probably half the bands that I've seen in Malta are in the audience.
Yeah. It's a very tight knit community where they're probably milling around in different projects and different things going on at the same time. But that's good because you feel a part of something.
Yeah, exactly.
I think every city at least has got their own kind of um, local culture like that. Malta in itself is quite a small country, so maybe it's kind of that similar culture, but
Yeah,
for a whole country.
yeah, exactly. I mean, Malta's like half the size of Birmingham,
There we go. Yeah. Because it did remind me
and
of
it's an
kind of like
independent
Birmingham
country.
growing up. Yeah, like half the people in the crowd when we were doing music probably were our mates. You know,
Yeah.
for the most part.
No, but I was really impressed with how the musicality of the record and the kind of global sense that it carried as well. So even though it was a very local thing,
Mm.
it stands on its own two legs on a global level as well,
Gail.
I think.
Yeah, I think the fact that they've come back from America like proves that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then that's also not to say that Malta doesn't have its own culture either, or like its own things, because there is a lot of that within the scene too. Like maybe there is maybe a bit of like an American influence on this project,
Mm.
but a lot of the independent bands do sing in Maltese and do celebrate their own culture as well. So it's not just about
That's
trying to
good.
be like super
How
American.
can we get into the mainstream? How can we break America? Yeah.
Yeah, no, so
Um.
it's really cool. It's not always easy to find gigs, I think, in Malta on the independent scene, because I think also the other problem is, given that you are playing often in small rooms, so a lot of the same people, you can't really play every week, and you can't really go to the next town to, or like do a tour of your home country,
mm.
because you're kind of stuck in Malta. So that is a challenge in itself, I think. So it makes it all the more interesting to see how. What's always kind of impressed me is how there's not really like a very easy grassroots kind of scene that you can get into. Yes, they have these album launch parties and they have these like shows and that they do happen, but obviously they can't play every week because otherwise, you know, people just aren't going to show up after a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But then,
It's like another gig. Fuck. Like I've just watched the set list like last week.
yeah,
It's like the
yeah,
only
exactly.
band. Fuck.
So they have to wait a long time before they can play shows. But then they have these festivals which can which have can be quite big, and like when you do occasionally get touring bands in, they obviously fill out like to big crowds. So you kind of have like this kind of difficulty of not having like a lot of experience on the grassroots, it seems, from my perspective, compared to what I'm used to then playing these festival stages with pyrotechnics or
Mm.
whatever else that's going on.
It's a
But
big
like
jump.
it's a big jump, but you don't like notice like any lack of professionalism or ability of the musicians either. Like they're very. I mean, it's great. Yeah, that's really impressive.
Yeah. It's cool, man. Because yeah, it seems like they can change like as and when and adapt, I guess, to different environments.
I was just thinking, like the amount of gigs we've managed to cut our teeth on. At least I did over my years, and have probably developed less proficiency than a lot of the musicians here. Where I'm at least from my naive perspective, not understanding where they're getting the experience from.
Got you. Okay. Yeah. It's, well, what could it be? Raw talent, I guess. I guess feeling like you've got maybe.
I guess they probably just actually learn the instruments properly, as opposed to
There is
just
that as
like
well,
turning
practice.
up with a pair of
But
sticks
maybe
and
it is
hoping
just
for the
the
best.
feeling of needing to really prove
Hmm.
that, who they are a little bit more. And I don't know,
I mean,
maybe.
of course, like they obviously have. There's obviously good music schools here and good opportunities for musicians to grow in a more kind of formal or traditional format. So, like, there is really interesting jazz stuff happening in Malta as well,
Okay.
which I would like to go into at some point. But yeah, there's a cool music school. There's cool jazz bars. There's a jazz festival and stuff. Um, so,
Maybe that's what it is then.
but
Like
then
maybe because there's
but then
educational bodies. Maybe because
But
there's
it's the
more
same in Birmingham. We
education.
have the conservatoire, but the
I
guys
know, but
playing in the indie bands in Birmingham aren't coming from the conservatoire.
exactly.
And I don't
So
think the guys in the indie bands in Malta are coming out of the School of Music either. Like, there's still that same element of guys just picking up, well, not guys, like people just picking up instruments for the fun of playing. But then I guess they've just kind of had to step up to that jump, I guess.
somehow they've just naturally stepped up. Something in the water. Something in that Maltese water.
We just,
Can you drink the water in your country?
no.
Ah, there's something in the water.
Yeah.
You drink that, and you,
Maybe that's why they've been telling me not to drink it. They don't want me to get too.
yeah. Don't drink it. Look, he's from the UK. He's from Birmingham. Don't show him the secret
Don't
water.
give it to him. Yeah.
Secret sauce. Yeah, man. Who knows? Different cultures, different upbringings, and I guess different ways of coming into the scene change the outcome. Interesting stuff.
Yeah. No, but it was cool, man. No, I enjoyed it. It was good fun. Nice to get out, see some music, and yeah,
Sick. Yeah,
and
so
not
we
bring the
should put
cameraman.
then, we're going to represent and put Bloodstream, Waterfall, Cannonball
Cannonball,
on the playlist by Eyes to Argus from their album Reroute.
wicked.
Sick. Give it a listen.
Give it a listen, check it out, and who
Check it
knows?
out.
Maybe you'll get a chance to see him somewhere other than Malta or the US.
Come on. Okay. Right. Anything else?
I feel like we've probably exceeded the time limit,
Yeah.
so I'm quite happy to end it there.
Yeah, me
Unless you
too.
had anything pressing.
Nah. That wraps up another episode then. Hopefully our predictions of the new Tyler the Creator album were right. Who knows? I guess we'll find out next week. And other than that, follow us on socials
I can't
or
wait to see
don't.
how wrong we were. Tune in next
Oh
week
shit.
to watch us cry.
Yeah. And apologize. And yeah, we've got, what have we got next week? I don't know what we got next week for you, but it's going to be cool.
It's gonna be good, always. Yeah, it's getting better
Yeah,
and
man.
better.
Follow us on socials or don't. And yeah, that was another episode. Hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you. See you next week.
See you next week. See you next week. Pow. Another episode in the bank. Stick 'em up. All right.